The Commission on Elections issued an on-bank resolution to lease over 93,000 optical machine readers, or OMR, to be deployed for the 2016 national elections for May 2016. Instead of proceeding to bid or negotiate to refurbish 83,000 PCOS machines used for the 2010 and 2013 elections. This ensures automated polls for clean and credible results. And joining us tonight on NewsLife is Attorney James Jimenez, the spokesperson of the Commission on Elections. Good evening, sir. Welcome to NewsLife.
Good evening.
Now, sir, to start us off, now, what was the basis for the lease instead of refurbishing the 83,000 PCOS machines?
Well, the biggest problem really was time. From the very beginning, we've always really wanted to use the machines again. After all, we already have them, right? And it made perfect sense to just keep on reusing them. But the problem is, in order to reuse them for 2016, you'd have to upgrade or refurbish them. And that's what we ran out of time to do. So, as a fallback position, we had to lease new machines.
Now, did this undergo the process of bidding, and how long did it take to actually?
Absolutely. The bidding for the 70,000 machines started in October. I'm sorry, the 23,000 machines started in October 2014, and then the 70,000 started sometime in June. So the bidding process has been a long, drawn-out one, and opportunity for people to participate if they wanted to. But of course, as biddings go, you know, one of them, one by one, they fall by the wayside until finally you have a lone surviving bidder with the lowest calculated responsive bid.
Now, for these 93,000 PCOS machines that will be leased, how much will it cost the government?
It'll cost the government about 8 billion pesos, 8.01 billion pesos, thereabouts.
If you would have refurbished the 83,000, how much would it cost?
It would have cost around 2.5 million cheaper because it is refurbishment, right? I mean, it's an old set of machines that will be brought up to speed, so to speak, through essentially a tune-up and overhaul process. It would have been a little cheaper than if we had just leased, than if as we're doing now, machines.
But for the sake of the viewers watching, the 83,000 PCOS machines will actually be refurbished in the future?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Actually still be used?
The only reason why the cost for refurbishment is not too far removed from the cost of the lease is because we were trying to do it in a very short time. As with a lot of things, if you rush the job, it'll cost more. Now, the plan of the COMELEC really is, after the next elections, is to start the process of refurbishing these machines, which means we'll have a longer time to do it in, and therefore drive the cost down even further. So it'll be really more economical for us to use these machines in 2019, as we intend to do, than if we had forced the refurbishment now with only 9 months left to go.
Now, how much has the technology changed in terms of the old PCOS machines once being leased? Is this going to actually ensure more transparent and more credible elections next year?
The new machines, and I might add, the refurbished machines would have been almost exactly like the new machines if we had been able to go through the refurbishment process. Yes, they do represent an improvement on the system. The basic technology remains the same. It's still a scanner, it's still reading paper ballots and so on, but there are a lot of improvements. For instance, just physically, the machine itself will have a bigger screen, which means that you'll be able to put more information there at the, in front of the voter. So he'll be able to review his ballot better. It'll be easier for him to read. There'll be accessibility features. For instance, if you're hard of seeing, then you have for an earphone, so that the machine can read the ballot back to you. So there are some improvements, and these are the good improvements, right? And they would have been worked into the refurbished machines. We hope that when we actually do refurbish these machines for 2019, we will have these improvements and then more. You see, because that's the way these technologies work. The base technology remains good for a long time, but you keep on incrementally improving it. So that's what we're looking at.
For those who are not too high-tech or technology educated, you were saying a while ago that the old PCOS machines, the problem is not the hardware, it's just the software. Now, just for the sake of education, how is it different, the hardware from the software?
The hardware means basically the moving parts, you know, the the rollers, the light bulbs, etc. Those things, they wear out. so they can easily be replaced. But in order to bring them up to speed with newer, like you said, newer bells and whistles, you need a software upgrade. The software is what drives the hardware. It's what makes the machine work, essentially. And when you have technology like this, essentially the software improves very, very quickly. But it's also built on the same hardware as the old models. So the old models become newer in essence because they have new drivers in them.
Now, so when the leased machines arrive in October, is there enough time to do the testing along with the other 23, more than 23,000?
Yeah, absolutely. October would be a good time for them to be starting arriving, because as they arrive, we're not going to get them all in one go, right? It's not going to all arrive in one bunch. It's going to arrive in tranches, essentially. So as the new ones come in, we're already starting the testing, which means that if the last deliveries come in January, then final testings will be completed sometime early February, which puts a big and comfortable gap between the time we have the machines on hand and the time that we're actually going to use them. That time will be used for further demonstrating these machines to the public, which means that the public will have the opportunity to see these machines firsthand before you use them on election day.
And so, final words, these next couple of months are going to be very busy. Now, what other campaigns is the COMELEC doing in terms of educating the public, in terms of the machines, and also in voting, and also in terms of registering?
Well, up to this
vote?
point, we've been really pushing registration because we're coming up against a deadline. That's October 31, 2015. That's a deadline for both registration and biometrics. So we've been really pushing that. But now that there's a lot of clarity with the machines that we're going to use, we're going to start ramping up our voter education for voting. That's when we'll start introducing this machine to the public. At first, maybe just to show them what it looks like, show them what the parts are, and get them comfortable with the idea of voting with this machine. All of this will happen in the last few months of this year. And hopefully by January next year, we can start rolling out with our public demonstrations.
Okay, on that note, thank you very much for joining us here tonight on NewsLife. That was Attorney James Jimenez, spokesperson of the Commission on Elections.